Hey, what's happening, YouTubers? We're back with a brand new action figure review, and today we're going to look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Wonder Woman from the Justice League Endless Winter storyline. Now, I just picked this up a few weeks back when I had like that major haul of McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figures. They were mainly the new Batman movie figures, but I also picked this up as well. But without further ado, let's go get started with the box art first. So on the right side of the packaging, you see the DC Multiverse logo on the top, Wonder Woman in the middle, Justice League Endless Winter underneath it to signify which version of Wonder Woman this is from, and also the classic McFarlane Toys logo on the bottom. So on the back of the box, you see the image of the full collectible figure. It is the Frost King, and there are 4 figures in the line, 4 figures needed to complete the wave, which I always like about McFarlane Toys' DC Multiverse line, is that you only need 4 figures, whereas Hasbro Marvel Legends, it's typically 6 to 7. Now, I did see the other figures in the line at Walmart, but I didn't pick them up just because I was spending a lot already on just the Batman movie figures, but make no mistake, I will complete this Build-A-Figure. My apologies, the Collect-to-Build figure. All right, that's enough about the box art. Let's go and get Wonder Woman out of the box. All right, here's Wonder Woman out of the box, and let's get started with the accessories first. And just like all McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figures, she comes with the DC base plate. No, I'm not going to throw it this time. Like I said before, I do appreciate that McFarlane Toys provides a stand/base plate with the figures, because that's pretty cool, even though I jokingly toss this every review. Now, the collectible piece she comes with is the torso of the Frost King, and it gives me very, like, Game of Thrones vibe, like, looking at this thing, but it's probably going to be a massive collectible figure, so I will, like I said, I will be picking up the other pieces at some point. And then she comes with a highly detailed sword, so you can see the texture and pattern at the handle right here and the pointed tip, and the silver finish right here. And just like every DC figure in McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse line, she comes with a trading card. And on the back of the card is a data file on Wonder Woman from Endless Winter. Feel free to pause it if you want to go ahead and read it. And the card looks pretty good. It has decent centering, so I'd say this is probably a PSA 9, so this is probably going to be valued at $40,000 in 2 weeks. Oh, and before we take a look at the figure itself, there are some complaints lately from some collectors out there about why the cards or the card art of the figure looks different from the actual figure we're getting. As you can see here, you can see she has like the helmet on in the front. It's different than what you see here. It's just a headband. And also you can see clearly she's holding a shield. I wish this figure came with a shield because that would have been dope. My guess is this is early digital rendering because if you zoom in closely, you can see the joints aren't really cut yet right there. So it's either digital rendering or this is probably going to be another variant, because if we look at the track record at McFarlane Toys, they've typically done running variant changes with collectible figures like the John Stewart Green Lantern or everything in the Batman Beyond wave, the Joker bot. They've re-released in alternate variants like with maskless head or different heads and stuff like that. So my guess is this is probably a variant or a digital render, and I'm kind of happy with this one just because aesthetically you see she's doing the side eye here. In this one, not so much. All right, now let's take a look at the figure, and we're going to get started with the head sculpt first, and I think it looks fantastic. I think McFarlane Toys did a fantastic job sculpting the head of this Wonder Woman. I love the sculpting and the detail of her headband right here, as well as the hair. You can see it's braided all throughout. I think that looks so badass to me. She kind of has that like Viking/Valkyrie vibe with this attire. I do love the sculpting of the face. I think they did a fantastic job. And just to compare with like my other Wonder Woman figure that was one of my favorites that McFarlane Toys has made, with the Last Night on Earth Wonder Woman, there's something different about the way the paint application is on the newer one. It seems like more matted and almost statuesque, whereas the older one had more of a glossy finish to it. But I get it, they're both different renditions of Wonder Woman, but I still think it looks a lot better on the newer one. There's something about this one that's very, like I said, statuesque. And by the way, y'all, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but let's take a look at the rest of the figure. And when looking at the rest of the figure, I gotta say, I love rubber overlays over the body of the figure as long as there's articulation and it makes sense. This, however, doesn't make sense to me. Aesthetically, the sculpt of this rubber overlay suit on her dress looks amazing. It looks fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But I think there should have been, like, this should have been a sculpted piece instead of a rubber overlay. And the reason why I say that is because if I try to articulate Wonder Woman at all and try and move her, like, it just does that, and that's not very good in my opinion. So she is limited in terms of range of motion. So having this rubber overlay means, like, if I want to turn the figure sideways, like, it just looks weird right there. I mean, there's probably workarounds like that, but it still just looks funky to me. And the cape also hinders it a lot from the left side of the figure. It's a beautifully sculpted cape. Looks like it's a lot of fur, to be honest with you, but it just hinders it a lot. And the fact that this hinders it on the right side, left side of the body, in addition to the rubber overlay, like it's all compounded. Like you can't really do much in terms of articulation, which is kind of frustrating. Like it's a double-edged sword. Yes, I love rubber overlays, but in situations like this, it doesn't make sense. It would have made much more sense if McFarlane Toys ended up splitting the sculpt up or just sculpting the chest piece onto the body like they did with this Wonder Woman. But there's also nice attention to detail throughout the suit. I was noticing she has her whip right here, or the lasso, I'm sorry. And then if you zoom in, the boots have little fur there. Yeah, it's not painted on, but it's nice attention to detail with the sculpting. Probably for like budget reasons, I couldn't paint the fur here or here, but it's a nice attention to detail on McFarlane Toys' part. All right, now we're going to jump right into size comparisons. And first size comparison, here is the Endless Winter Wonder Woman standing next to a couple other Wonder Woman figures from McFarlane Toys' DC Multiverse line. We have Wonder Woman from the Last Night on Earth and Wonder Woman from the Wonder Woman 84 movie. And man, just like looking at this, like now I see why like some people complain about this Wonder Woman figure. When looking at her legs, it's way too long. I don't think Gal Gadot is that tall. I think they probably could have done a little bit better with the scaling, but this was early on during McFarlane Toys' early stages of their multiverse line. All right, next size comparison. Here's Endless Winter Wonder Woman sitting next to the Batman from the Batman 3 Jokers and the Action Comics 1000 Superman. And wow, I never realized how much taller this Batman figure is from the Superman figure from their first wave. And last size comparison, here she is standing next to the Todd McFarlane figure. All right, so my overall thoughts on the figure is very conflicting. I have very conflicting opinions. On one hand, I was very excited to get this figure, and I still like the sculpt because I think this is a dope version of Wonder Woman, specifically this Endless Winter look. I love the Valkyrie / Viking inspired attire. I think she looks amazing in this outfit. However, the conflicting part is when it comes to the articulation. Yes, I prefer the rubber overlays, like I mentioned before, mainly like specifically like my General Zod figure I just reviewed recently. That had one big rubber overlay. However, the difference is that rubber overlay went over the shoulders, whereas this one's going from the chest down, thus making the articulation weird. So this should have been a figure that had two different cuts and two different pieces. But overall, I like the figure nonetheless. However, it's just frustrating because when trying to pose this figure, I was really looking forward to posing this one the most because up until this point, the Last Night on Earth Wonder Woman figure was my favorite Wonder Woman so far. This one tops it, but it takes a couple points off just because that rubber overlay really hinders a lot of the articulation. But yeah, let's sound off in the comments below, YouTubers. Let me know what you think about this figure. Will you be picking it up? And like always, if you like what you see, be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already yet, subscribe to the channel. Go ahead, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Ah, fucker. That's a blooper.